Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with crazy backgrounds and magazine collage and using collage printables in my art journal. So I'm working on my craft page today. I'm just going in with some white gesso, just sort of slapped it across the middle. Not very much care taken with it, but just enough to get some colour on the page. I knew I wanted to glue this sheet of words into the middle as well. So these are from Claire Stead, from her printable book from Funky Fossil Designs, I think it's called. I just really love her beautiful handwriting. Now, obviously, if you didn't have that, you could certainly write that across the page, but it was just something interesting in the background to sort of break it up a little bit. So I'm going in with some pink colours, starting off with a really pale colour. I wanted to have this as a really bright page, so I'm actually going to use some neon colours in it, and I want to have a little bit of colour in the background so that I can sort of boost the colours somewhat as I go in. Again, adding more colour in the pinky range and doing a little bit of ghosting, so removing some of the paint, so I've got some of that white and some of those words peering through from below. So it's just building up little layers at a time. Now I'm going in, this is a really fluid acrylic paint. I got this one in Officeworks, so it's a high flow acrylic paint, and you can see how beautifully bright this colour is. So there are lots of neon paints available in the market. I know Amsterdam Paints does some, Dina Wakley's just released some, Dilutions have some, so I'm just using an Amsterdam one there. Golden, this I think it's called Global High Flow Paint, have got theirs. So there's all sorts of acrylic paints, neon paints in the market, and they all pretty much work the same, which is lots of fun to play with. Just to add a little bit more white back onto the page, I'm just going in with some white and stenciling over the top to create this sort of bold little pops of colour. So this is the image I'm using. The image is a printable from Claire Stead, I think from her Sweet Treats page, and probably these little bits at the bottom are from a few other things. So I've got the head there, so I knew I wanted to create some sort of body. So I am just using all the little bordery bits and pieces to glue them together to kind of create a body framework for the head to rest on, because those of you who followed me for a while know I don't like floating heads. I like to ground them to the bottom of the page in some way, shape or form. Once I've finished, I did think that I was going to put some butterflies on the body. I decided not to put it on to the wings because it didn't quite work because she had such a square body, but I thought I would put it into her head, seeing she's got a headrest of donuts. I figured the butterflies might like that a little bit. So these are Tim Holtz butterflies, transparency butterflies. I like that particularly the green and the orange that I chose sort of really boosted the colours that are in the background as well. Now I'm just going in with my paint pens and adding some extra detail, particularly to the eyes first, and then adding in some extra line work, either with my white paint pen or black paint pen. Adding in some extra eyelashes, making them sort of a bit of a focal point on the page. And I often find when I'm using things like this, particularly if I printed them out myself, that you're never going to get a true black colour. So I find going over the top with some black paint pen can really help to create contrast on the page. The blacks really come through at the end, the whites really come through at the end, so you don't get the sort of mixed up muddy colours. But even going around the edge of her body and onto the page itself, you can see what a difference just those thin little bits of black line can do to frame the images that I've got on the page. Because I used some of the neon green in her eyes, and I'm going to put some green on the butterfly, I wanted to add a little bit of extra green onto the page as well in different places. But it's a Jelly Roll gel pen from Sakara. It's a Japanese company. People rave about the white pen. I struggle to use a white pen, but the neon pens work really well for me. But I think it's just me and neon, really. So again, just going in with my white pen to do a little bit of highlighting. I did decide that I was going to add a little bit of green to the background. So just around the stencil circles, I'm going through and circling some of those little white dots in the background. So again, having that repetition of colour on the page. If I just had sort of the green eyes and that was it, it would look a little bit odd. Probably not, because it was in the eyes and that was the focal point of the page, but by repeating it a few other places on the page helps bring it all together. I also broke out my big neon pens and to add a little bit of extra mark making in the background. So I decided I want to have a little bit of a height on my page because I quite like having heights on my figures. So I used my neon pink pen to do that. Highlighted it with my white pen. I decided I wanted a little bit more brightness of that yellow going across the background. So I just used the edge of the pens to do that. So those are the big 7M pens from Posca Paint Pens. I got those ones from Officeworks. But anywhere that sells Posca Paint Pens, you should be able to get your hands on them. They do only come in the chisel tip end though, so most of my pens are bullet point. I don't tend to use the chisel tip much, but I don't mind them as much in the wider pens. I don't particularly like them in the fine pens. So once I had finished playing around with what I've got, I was thinking I want to put a quote on here somewhere. So I was busy looking one up, but I actually got a bit captivated by the words in the background, that they were still quite visible. So the I am kindness, I am grateful, and there's another word there, I am complete, I think it was. Also in the printable set that Claire, this lady, came from, she has some quote parts, and it had this one had her soul is fierce. So I thought I would add that onto the page, do a little bit of a drop shadow using the green pen again, just to have that echoing of colour on the page. And as I was sort of outlining this, my eye was drawn to where I could sort of see those words on the page, so I thought I would outline them and make them come into the foreground. I also add a little bit of black splatter, again, just because I love splattering stuff everywhere, because it's me. Just helps to get that little grungy contrast on the page, which I really, really like. So I'm trimming it down, playing, looking, tapping my fingers, going, is it finished, is it not? And there I write the words in from the background, because I was really focused. I could see them really, really clearly, and I thought, why not add those onto your page in some way? So just by writing over the top of them, had that model there, particularly for people who are a little bit afraid of handwriting on your page. If you've got something to model over the top, it makes it really, really easy. Just going in with a white pen as well, just to add that little bit of contrast to push them out from the background, and that is the final page. So much fun, so much brightness. It really stands out in my journal as something funky and crazy, all my favorite colors on it, and it's just lots of fun to use. So check out the links below, have a go at using your neons, have a go at using any printables you've got. If you don't have access to them, go and grab a magazine and create your own. It is really simple, and I've got lots of videos on this channel showing how to use magazines to create magazine collage. I hope you had lots of fun watching. Until next time, bye for now.